but that's not the case. You spend more than
we take in about no, we take in about 8 times what we spend. We make about $365, $385 a week revenue, gross revenue, and we spend about $50,000 a week.
Very good.
On getting that revenue.
How do you? What's the process? How do you begin to come up with better ideas and new products and services? And who helps you with that?
I have a great team here. That's probably the thing I'm best at, is hiring awesome people to help me. But what happened is a few years ago, one of the things I said one time was I would never buy presses and print my own stuff because I don't want to be a manufacturer. And now I own presses. And then like a few years ago, I also said I would never be a web development company, but now we are a web development company. And what happened is a few years ago, I said, bring me all the cards we've designed. I want to do I want to write up on each card what they should have done, what our designers should have done differently for better results, just in terms of training the staff more. And so they brought me cards every single week. And what I did is I took the cards that we did the full conceptual design on, and I went and looked at the websites of those clients. And I was pretty appalled, and I actually felt really bad for them, because the first thing anybody's going to do anymore, and this was true a few years ago, and it's even truer now, is they're going to go to your website once they are interested in your product or service from your postcard. Right. If you go to somebody's website and there's no way to interact with that website, if the website's unprofessional, if the website's difficult to navigate, if the website doesn't look like the piece that brought you to the website and you're not even sure if you're in the right place. I mean, there's so many things that can, what are we trying to do as marketers? We're trying to increase the rapport enough and raise the trust factor enough with the potential buyer to get them to buy.
Sure.
And you basically are your website. So you could be the best at what you do, but if your website looks like garbage, you're garbage to the viewer. Right. So I said, oh, goodness, I'm going to have to develop websites. So we do that now, too. and then, of course, that brought on a whole bunch of other products and services. So we do email nurture programs for our clients. We do email newsletters. We even now do social media management and pay-per-click management, because we were using an awesome pay-per-click company that we love, but we hired someone full-time. Well, we hired someone not to do this, but he turned out to be really interested in this, and so now this is what he's doing, young kid. And he started managing our pay-per-click manager, mainly telling them what to do, because he could put a lot more hours into it than they could.
Sure.
And then we decided to try it without him asking them any questions, and for weeks, just telling them what to do. And we watched our cost per lead just go down, 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 down. So then we let go of them, and he was just doing it for us. And then he came to me and said, this isn't really a full-time job. Maybe we should sell this to some clients. And so now we do pay-per-click management.
How about that? How about that?
I mean, we have over 55,000 customers, so we don't really have to market these things, to raw public. We can market it just within our database.
Right.
Yeah.
They've already done business with you. They already know how great of an experience it is to work with you, and then it's not even selling. You just say, hey, look, do you have a need for this? Because we do it now.
Exactly.
That's great. How do you stay in tune with your customers' needs? Do you survey them, for example, or do you have somebody that's in charge of sifting through emails?
We do survey our customers.
Uh-huh.
We do talk to. I have 29, I think now, consultants / sales reps, and they, we have meetings all the time and talk to them, and they'll say, so-and-so's asking if we do this. Do we do this? Can we do this? We're like, well, I don't know. Let me check it out. So.
Got it. Let me ask you, how do you know if you're winning? I mean, what are measurements that you take when you're in the middle of a project or in the middle of a campaign to know if you're on the right track?
Well, we measure everything. We're kind of ridiculous in how much we measure, but it's fantastic, actually, because the things you can discover if you keep track of everything. So, we also offer specialized phone numbers to put on the postcards so that they can see exactly how many calls are coming in from the cards instead of guessing.
Right.
Because, you say to your receptionist, please ask everybody how they heard about us, because we have a couple of different campaigns running and we want to know how they heard about us so we know where to put our marketing dollars. And the receptionist says, okay, no problem. And
But
then
then she
forgets.
forgets. Yeah.
And she forgets. So she'll say, did anybody call off the postcards? No. And then they say, well, nobody's called. So we want them to be able to track realistically. So, you put a special phone number on, and then you can go and listen and actually listen to your salespeople and listen to your receptionist and listen, and see if they're asking the right questions or if they're wasting your leads or, what's happening. And revenue, of course, you want to track revenue, see if it's sometimes a big blast of a good outflow of communication will increase the revenue. If you can't get down to the nitty-gritty and track every detail, you can see that when you blast out communication, there's many more hits to your website, so you always want to look at your Google Analytics and make sure that you're getting those hits. And then if they're not converting into leads, you want to look at what pages they're on, what's wrong with those pages. I mean, it's a whole thing.
Right. Yeah, but you can, by measuring, you'll find out where the holes are in the buckets, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. That's why we love keeping track of every little thing, so we can go back and see what the heck is going on.
Now, here's a question that may or may not be sensitive to you. Okay, I was going to say, can you tell us about your sales funnel? And if you don't want to give away proprietary things, I'm going to understand that. But
I don't even know what you mean by why would my sales funnel be proprietary? I mean, like what happens when somebody calls in?
Well, I mean, if you have a unique process that nobody else is using, or is it just universal? I mean, is your sales funnel something that you simply get folks to, you give away something free, people are pleased with that, and then they may or may not consider opting in, then you've captured their information. I mean, do you do pretty much the same thing?
That's pretty much what we do.
Yeah. So even a big business. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, we have a 95-point marketing checklist. It's like a 95 different points. It takes you from beginner to
advanced
marketer.
I downloaded that,
by
the way. Yes, I did. I thought that was marvelous.
So you had to give me your contact info for that, and then you see that we hit you with 6 direct mail pieces, 1 a week after that. You probably got some calls from our lead activation unit.
Yep.
And then if you took the call and were interested, they would pass you over to a consultant who would ask you about 1 million questions about your business and what you're trying to achieve so they could recommend the best campaign for you. So that's basically what happens. Our entire marketing, all our marketing is geared toward getting the person to pick up the phone and actually call in, because that's the hottest lead and has the highest close percent for us. And that means the person's really interested in talking to someone.
Yeah.
So that's the best lead.
They've maybe, at that point, they've overcome the fear. There's a certain amount of fear that I deal with students calling in for martial arts lessons, because they're like, is this a rough and tough place where I'm going to get hurt? And so they don't want to call until they already feel very comfortable from some of the education and stuff like that that we put out there.
Exactly. So it's increasing that trust. Oh, look,
trust.
It's increasing the trust factor, building the rapport with the person so that you're not so threatening. And then that way, they're ready to call. So we have some of that's the main statistic that we track for my Senior VP Marketing. She calls it new conversations, and there's 2 types of new conversations. One is the very first time they reach at all into the company is via a phone call. That's pretty hard to do anymore. Every year it's harder and harder.
Right.
And the other new conversation would be someone who downloaded a free report or came in some other way. Perhaps they're just a newsletter subscriber, and all our other marketing has now warmed them up to the point where they're ready to pick up the phone and call in. And those are the 2 ways. And those we get about 450 of those a week, I would say, conversations. Out of those, the 700 full contact leads, those are new leads. So a lot of those, about 500 of those are probably just the address, phone number, email address, and name. And 200 would be a phone call. And then those other